Welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast. If you're a person who is in your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, or older, who was taught to stay in your lane, or maybe you believe your age limits you from pursuing new adventures, exploring new destinations, or that business idea you've been nursing, I invite you to stay and listen to the Age Has No Limit podcast. I'm Patrice Davis, and I'm the host of the podcast. I'm a mom of three, the CEO of Grants Works Consulting, and the founder of Ready, Set, Go Consult, a consulting business accelerator. I started a consulting business at 49, traveled to multiple countries, found the courage to love again, and I'm just getting started. Each week, I highlight ways you can live on your own terms, share tips on how to start or grow a business, and I feature guests who chose to redefine their lives and live outside the box in their own way. If this sounds like something you'll enjoy, stick around for this episode. If you're listening to us on your favorite streaming platform, please download this or any of our past episodes so you can listen on the go. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe. It's the Age Has No Limit podcast. We're here to show and prove that your age shouldn't prevent you from designing and living the life you want. I'm your host, Patrice Davis. Let's get started. My guest, Solita Roberts, doesn't know this, but I've known about her for years. I've been following her on LinkedIn, admiring her boldness in both her posts and her style, and even taking her advice on what books to read. And more on that a little later. So Solita is the owner of Style to Impact, and her bold approach to life can even be experienced in her tagline on her website, which is, "It's time to go from hiding in the uniform of the world to commanding every room with a bold, authentic style." And that really speaks to me for a number of reasons that we'll dig into a little bit later. Solita is an image consultant, wardrobe manager, and speaker who helps her clients first cultivate a deeper understanding of themselves and increase their self-awareness, and then unlock their personal style and wardrobe confidence. She is a LinkedIn top voices in fashion and beauty and has been featured in Shout Out Atlanta, Rolling Out, Femme Founder, The CW, and Speaking Your Brand. Join me as I dig a little more to learn about this Guyana-born high-functioning introvert and how she became a rising star that helps TEDx speakers and other women executives command every room with style. Solita, welcome to the Age Has No Limit podcast.
Thank you very much for having me, Patrice. I appreciate it. It's just absolutely amazing being able to share space with you and just listening to you saying you've been following me for a while. It's that thing on, in social media where we're like, the people that are looking at us, we don't often see them showing up on our posts. So that in itself is like, wow.
Yes. So what we're going to do is address the naysayers, right? Who believe that talking about or focusing on the way a person dresses is superficial. I'll let you tackle that head on, and we'll start with that first. What is your response to that?
If we think back to, especially when it comes to women and our appearance, right? It's that idea that if a woman takes interest in her personal style or just any part of her appearance that she wants to present herself based on how she's feeling, there's spaces that, corners in the globe where it's like, oh, you're trying too much, or you may be superficial, or you may not be taken seriously. So focus on your work. That's more important. But you are your work, right? Especially if you're an entrepreneur, especially if you're an executive woman, in any space that you're showing up, you are your work. People see you first. If you look at me, without reading anything about me, you wouldn't know anything about me, right? So when I walk into a space, you're looking at the person that's walking into that space first, and then you make a decision as to whether or not, oh, is there something that I see some form of commonality or something about their appearance that will invite conversation. So it's not about this idea that, oh, it's superficial to do it, but really embracing one, what you want your style to say about you. And for those persons who are thinking that it's not important, I want them to think as simple as when they do decide to buy a product and put it in their home, how are you just making that decision if you have never heard about it before? You're thinking about it, maybe a sofa, right? You're looking at it, you're like, okay, there's so many options. There's a lot of noise as to what type of sofa you should get. But there are things that you're using to narrow that down. The
Mm-hmm.
color, the style, what caught your eyes as soon as you walked into that furniture store. That's what your clothing does for you. It's
Mm-hmm.
part of your packaging. So it always strikes me whenever I hear that. It's superficial, but it's not, it's coming from that space where we really weren't taught how to embrace clothing, the thing that we wear every single day because we cannot go outside without it,
Mm-hmm.
as an empowerment piece, as opposed to looking at someone who's embracing their authentic self and bringing their
Mm-hmm.
self into that space and
Mm-hmm.
understanding that this is part of who they are. And
Mm-hmm.
you have the, you can make that decision on your own as to how you want to show up in that space. For those persons who are thinking it's superficial, maybe you revise how you feel and how you think about your first impression interactions with people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So now that we got that out of the way, I just wanted to make sure I tapped into that because there are people that dismiss it. But I really love the idea that you said it is your packaging, right? One of the things we need to understand as consumers is that companies spend months, probably even longer than that, trying to figure out what is the best packaging for a product. If their bottle of shampoo is on the shelf with all the other bottles of shampoo, what about the packaging of their bottle of shampoo is going to catch your eye and make you want to buy it? And it's the same thing with the way that we present ourselves. So glad we got that out of the way. So what made you first realize you could use your style to frame the way people saw or defined you?
I'm 5 feet, super petite, female,
Mm-hmm.
worked in banking and finance for over 15 years.
Mm-hmm.
Walking into spaces, I felt invisible. There are a lot of times when I'm in that room and I'm not that person who's going to walk into the room and be like, hey, everyone, I'm Solita, I'm here. I do have a quiet but powerful presence. And I realized that yes, I'm that person who's going to walk into the room. If I do have to contribute using my voice, I will use my voice and speak up. But at the same time, it was, oh, that's just, and again, people look at your age, look at you and decide, oh, you look too young. You can't be in this room, or you should have a say in this room. And I realized that one, it wasn't about how I wanted the persons in the rooms that I'm going into to perceive me, but how I wanted to feel when I
Yeah.
walk into those spaces, how I wanted to present myself. Heels will forever be my power piece. As I said, I'm
Mhm.
5 feet. When I put it on, I feel extremely tall.
Mhm.
And so that helps me to stand in those rooms feeling a little bit more taller than I am, a little bit more
Mhm.
powerful than I might feel in that space, being intimidated, whether or not it's a space that in my mind I'm thinking that I don't belong, but I still want to be in that room.
Mhm.
What I wore allowed me to have that self-confidence and that belief that I belong in that room and
Mhm.
everyone in this room is going to take notice of me. And it's also, as an introvert too, it's a conversation introduction piece.
Yeah.
As I said, I'm not that person who's going to walk into the room with that type of energy. It's just not my personality.
Mhm.
My personal style has allowed me to do is walk into a room and invite conversations. That means I'm
Mhm.
inviting people to come up to me, which takes away, especially when you're thinking of networking,
Oh,
it takes
yeah.
away some of that pressure of me having to work the room. And
Yeah.
people are coming to me. I meet
Yeah.
my quota of introducing myself to 5 new people, connect, and it's like, okay, yes, I've done my
Mhm.
job.
Yeah, it's so interesting. I'm glad you said that. For example, if I saw you in the room and I saw that necklace, I would want to come up to you and say, beautiful lavender top. That's my favorite color. And that necklace is stunning.
Yeah.
And so that already introduces connection. So that is yet another reason why the way that we present ourselves in our style and our packaging, as you aptly put it, is very important. So but why start an image consulting business? And what do you think you enjoy the most about the work that you do?
So when I started my business, I actually didn't think about it as something that I wanted to do professionally. It
Mm-hmm.
was more of a creative outlet for me. As I
Mm-hmm.
said, I was in banking for years, compliance and numbers, and you're like this, just tunnel vision and just focus that way. And
Mm-hmm.
I wanted something that allowed me, just kind of allowed me to come out of that space
Mm-hmm.
where I can be a little bit more creative. There wasn't any rule. There are rules, but I'm in fashion. I'm like, there are no rules for me. I don't follow them. And so
Mm-hmm.
it allowed me to just kind of like step out of that structure that I was in my profession. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started to like post like they call like flat lays where you put
Mm-hmm.
together like outfit ideas and post it on social media. And I remember I got this email because I had an email. Like I wasn't thinking about it as a business, but I just kind of like set it up
Mm-hmm.
a way that persons can connect with me. And I got an email from this lawyer. She's like, "Oh, I really love your style. How do you work with clients?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "What?
Work with
How do I
clients.
work with clients? I've actually never even worked with anyone. I was just doing
Yeah.
this for me."
Mm-hmm.
And I examined what she was saying to me and some of the struggles that she was having around her personal style and her confidence and how she wanted to show up in this space to
Mm-hmm.
really empower and inspire other women around her to show that, oh, we don't have to fit ourselves in these boxes. There are
Mm-hmm.
things that we want to do. And in order for us to get to that level, we need to show up the way that we want to show up and we want to be seen and feel and how we want to feel about ourselves.
Yeah.
And that was my introduction where I was like, oh, let me do a little bit more research around this and see what does it take, one, for me to start my business, and two, what direction I wanted my business to go in. And going
Yeah.
back to your first question of this idea that we have around style being superficial, I
Mm-hmm.
wanted my business to debunk that. I wanted my business to say to women, it's okay, right? You can take that this occupy the space for yourself. It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to pay attention to your appearance, how you
Mm-hmm.
want to feel. It's okay to take the power back and how you want to present yourself and show up in the world. It's
Yeah.
okay to express your authentic self, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
okay to do that. And so my business, the part that I really love about that is empowering women to really connect to themselves and
Mm-hmm.
express who they are through the clothing that they wear,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a different type of voice. It's
Yeah.
a
That's an
different
ex.
type
Mm-hmm.
of confidence that you're showing, because I've worked with a TEDx speakers, I've worked
Mm-hmm.
with other women in executive roles. These are women that are crushing what they're doing in their professional life. But whenever they're thinking about what should I wear, it's, oh, I don't want to appear this way, or oh, what should, what people are gonna think in this space. It's like, no.
Yeah.
How do you now want to the same power, the same confidence that you have in your business?
Mm-hmm.
Let's connect that to who you are as a person and stop hiding,
Yeah.
as I said, in the uniform of the world, right? And
Yeah.
break away from that and create your personal style from an authentic space to really represent who you are. And
Yeah.
that's where, for me, a lot of joy comes from, that is seeing my clients really say, oh, yeah, I can wear this because this
Mm-hmm.
is who I am. And
Yeah.
it allows them to just occupy space bigger and bolder.
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that. So I remember myself when I was when I worked for others. Thankfully, I now have my own business and I can wear what I'd like. Interestingly, because of what I do, I'm a compliance consultant, a grant compliance consultant. There were times when I would be, and I'd think, okay, well, maybe for this client meeting or for this video that I need to do or for this speaking engagement, I need to, tone down the personality, focus more on, what's coming out of my mouth, unless on what I'm wearing. I remember when I worked in corporate, wearing that uniform, so to speak. And I'm thinking about a lot of attorneys, at least the female attorneys that we remember from,
Yeah.
maybe, they were the gray, it was the gray and the blue. And now everybody's realizing, that you can allow your personality, myself included, to shine through. So when I bought a red suit the other day and some, leopard print heels, I was like, this is Patrice. But anyway, so I just thought it was interesting that you brought that up. So what would you say is your typical client, and what is her age? What her profession maybe. Just would love to learn a bit more about who you serve.
So first, I'm gonna go, as I said, I don't do the rules. I'm very much so outside of the box. So even like
Mm-hmm.
about my client as an
Mm-hmm.
age group is not something that I
Mm-hmm.
adopt. It's a
Mm-hmm.
woman who, whether or not she is thriving in her career or business, or a woman who felt or is feeling that sense of where she
Mm-hmm.
feels stuck,
Yeah.
feels as though she is lost a sense of who she is in the process of life.
Mm-hmm.
And she wants to not just get back into the workplace, but also reconnect to herself,
Mm-hmm.
reconnect in a way that is not confined by society's expectations,
Mm-hmm.
reconnect in a way that is allows her to come out of that mindset of I should be limited by my age, whether or not that
Yeah.
you're younger or older, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we all been told it's like you're too young for the role or you're too old for the role. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I do not want to be limited by that. So my ideal client is both the woman that's on that journey of redesigning her life
Mm-hmm.
and that executive woman who is on that verge of doing bolder and bigger things in her career and her business, but also needs the packaging to match that.
Yeah, that's a great point. So one of the things I thought about as I was preparing for this episode and that I've thought about in the past. So for those of you who don't know, I talk a lot about, putting on the mask and just sort of pushing myself into a space of conformance that I didn't even, that surprised me as a person who describes herself as a nonconformist. And I bring this up because I remember when I was raising my children, and a lot of moms do this, you become so focused on, getting dressed to do the thing
Yeah.
that after a while it becomes your norm. So I found myself as a mom, taking my children to their various extracurriculars in the khaki pants and the very plain cotton top and just really again just
Yeah.
getting dressed to go do the thing. You have errands to run, and after a while that becomes you don't spend a lot of time focusing on style. It's not until you realize, oh my God, I've lost myself. I'm no longer Patrice the woman. I'm now Patrice the mom or Patrice the worker, that you forget what your style is like. So I'm so glad you brought that up, that, it's really important to understand that you have to reconnect with who you are in order to sometimes take yourself, not necessarily professionally to the next level, but to have your mind, to have your exterior match with your mind, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Mm-hmm.
it's okay. Your style will evolve with you, right? It will
Mm-hmm.
evolve with the different stages and phases that you go through in life. And so it's okay if as a mom, you have a toddler and you have to run around with your toddler, like
Mm-hmm.
wearing heels, maybe something that you would have loved before, but you can't do that with with a
Mm-hmm.
toddler. So redefining now your personal style to match this particular phase in your life and the lifestyle that you have, it's okay. What I caution women on is getting into the frumpy look.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
okay, I need to run around with the kids in the park, so let me just put
Yes.
on the frumpy. Like, no, you
Yes.
can still take a moment to say, okay,
Mm-hmm.
my uniform for when I'm taking my kids to school or when I'm doing activities with my kids that I need to be comfortable will
Mm-hmm.
be X and Y, but it's a put together look, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not
Mm-hmm.
just, okay, I'm just going to throw on whatever. And then you look at yourself and you're like, oh, but your child looks really, well put together. I'm like, you
Mm-hmm.
take the same interest that you put in your kids that you should take for yourself as well. And like
Mm-hmm.
even thinking about fit is you will never put your child in something that they feel uncomfortable in,
Mm-hmm.
something that's either too big or too small, because you're looking at them like, oh, they can't walk in the pants because it's dragging on the ground, or it's really tight and they're uncomfortable. It's the same way when you think about your own clothing.
Yeah.
Regardless of your lifestyle, it's just making sure that you're comfortable, but making sure at the end of the day, you're presenting yourself and reminding yourself that you are still a person.
Absolutely. Um, so one of the things that you all are probably noticing is that Solita has an accent. And so we're going to dig a little bit more into Solita, the person, Solita, the woman. So Solita, tell us where you're from. I asked because I saw that you said you were born in Guyana, but then I also saw Antigua. So I need you to clarify that for me.
Yes, yes. I make this joke that I've been a professional immigrant for most of my life.
Mm-hmm.
Born in the Republic of Guyana, which is the only English-speaking country in South America. As a
Mm-hmm.
teenager, then I moved to Antigua and Barbuda, which is a tiny island in, if you go on the map in the Caribbean Sea there. And for me, those two experiences really shaped who I am or
Mm-hmm.
contributed to who I am because I got a sense of experiencing people that were different from me, whether or not that was culturally
Mm-hmm.
or just being in a different country as well, right? And having
Mm-hmm.
those different beliefs and systems and realizing that there's so much to learn from someone when you're not from the same place, and being open to learning about someone allows you to see the world differently.
Mm-hmm.
And it allows you, at least for myself, from that experience, really allowed me to have an appreciation for people and our differences and really be curious about learning about someone,
Mm-hmm.
understanding, why they may have certain beliefs. And especially as a personal stylist, it's like my belief system coming from the Caribbean is totally different as a Black woman too to, the Black women that I may work with in the US. And because I've
Mm-hmm.
never had that experience of or I've never felt the need
Mm-hmm.
to code switch or change who I am to
Mm-hmm.
fit certain spaces. I've always had that sense of, I'm sorry, this is who I am. I'm
Mm-hmm.
going to present myself in a way, of course, that I know, matches the room that I'm in, but
Mm-hmm.
not compromising who I am. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where my accent and my belief and everything comes around for you're hearing that
Mm-hmm.
Guyanese, Antiguan, and then of course now I'm living in
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta. So it's a
Mm-hmm.
mix of a lot of things.
Yeah. So how would you describe your childhood in Guyana?
Oh, yeah, that was how would I describe it? I think it was what I liked about it, it was just a sense of freedom that
Mm-hmm.
I've had. Things that I did that I was a bit of a tomboy. I
Mm-hmm.
was a bit of a tomboy, so I grew up with my aunt and my grandmother, and I did most of the things that my cousins did because my cousin is a boy and he had male friends and
Mm-hmm.
did everything that they did. And just growing up in that environment too, and just the schools that I went to, again, being exposed to different cultures. The
Mm-hmm.
schools that I went to were majority East Indians, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
the spaces that I was in didn't always look like me, but I also never felt like I was othered or never felt like, oh, I didn't belong in that space. Even thinking back then, I never thought about, oh, I'm different from them. It's like, oh, what is it you do as in your
Mm-hmm.
religion or in your culture? And I also was always curious about that. So I think just kind of like growing up, what I remember is just having that sense of freedom and being exposed to the different, cultures and beliefs in that space that really felt really good, that I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
to think about like, oh, I'm different. It's like, no, I'm not. We're just
Mm-hmm.
people living in the same space with different experiences.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm glad you first made sure that everybody understood where Guyana is, because I've heard a lot of people say, "Do you mean Ghana?" No, I mean Guyana. So
I always get
I
that.
know, I
Oh,
know.
that's why I always
Yeah.
have to say Republic of Guyana, only English speaking country in South America.
Exactly, exactly. So a number of my friends are from Guyana. My ex-husband was from Guyana. I'm from Jamaica.
Oh,
So I know, and
yeah.
so one of the things that she mentioned was that she was, the only person of African descent in a classroom of East Indians, one thing to know for those of you who are listening is that Guyana is one of those countries in South America where the population split is about 50-50 East Indian and another 50%, I guess, with, some mix of some of the original, they actually have some of their original Amerindians. Is that the right way to describe it? In their country. Then not a lot of countries do that, and they're integrated into the society, it seems, and they, to a certain extent. But just wanted to share that for those of you who aren't aware. So hopefully you will Google and learn a little bit more about Guyana and maybe decide to take a visit. But so tell me how much your Caribbean, and I think I already know the answer to this, because one of the things I like about some of the images that I've seen of you is that you take pictures with your carnival headdress on. So tell me a little bit about the decision to do that, and what are you communicating when you do that?
This is who I am. Right? I grew up, as I said, in that space where I've always felt a sense of freedom to be myself. And it's also reminding myself to connect to where I'm from, connect to the things that I love about being from Antigua. One of the things I absolutely loved was playing mass. For those who don't know what that is, well, Google it so you can see. So Caribbean carnival, so you can see what that looks like and what a costume looks like. Like I was full costume and everything like that I would wear beyond the roads with the parades. And so it's part of who I am, and it's part of my love for colors, right? And being bold with my clothing choices in terms of the colors that I wear. And just taking that photo where, and when I thought about it, I was like, I want to add my love for carnival and mix that with my professional, I put that in air quotes, background. And so for those of you who might have gone a little bit of Google stalking, you would see that photo where I'm wearing this like pink, it's a blazer dress, and I'm wearing this really huge pink headpiece. That's a way, because when I'm working with my clients, I always tell them to think about things like that. What are some things about you that you can incorporate in your style? No, I'm not going to wear a feather headpiece ever in my life going into a professional setting trying to no. But it was a way, because in my space I do have, when I think about my photos, I do have that leeway to kind of have that self-expression to that extent. But it's also a way of saying, this is where my love for colors came from. This is the way that I express myself comes from. This is the joy that I feel whenever I talk about life or I talk about me experiencing things in life. This is where it comes from. And so that was me just incorporating the two. Whenever I'm working with a client now, it's like, what is something that you love? What's a place that you have some form of connection and sentimental value to? What is it that you loved about that particular place or thing? It may have been maybe a favorite vacation that you had, and you loved the freedom that you had. And so now, and you love the fact that it was so colorful and beautiful. It's like, oh, can you now embrace color in your style? Yes, but I don't want to wear a full-on pink dress. That's okay. How about we do some accessories and just kind of put those little details and incorporate it in your style, because that's also a way of you bringing your authentic self to the space. It's also another way to invite conversations, because if you're wearing a bracelet from a trip that you had, or a family member gave you a particular, piece that has been in your family for a while, and you're wearing that in every space that you're going into, people are going to ask you about that. And that's your opportunity to really talk about yourself. That's your opportunity to now connect with that person on a deeper level. So yes, the carnival headpiece was because I don't shy away from that part of who I am. And so when you see it, it's like, some people are going to be like, what? She's wearing a headpiece in her, headshot. Like, what is this about? And some person will be like, I wonder what's the story behind this. So it takes some form of curiosity. Some persons are not going to get it. And some persons are going to be curious enough to be like, hey, Solita, was curious by your headshot. tell me a little bit more about that, and we engage in a conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what as you're saying this, I'm thinking about again, just remembering how, as a Black woman in the workspace, a Black Caribbean woman in the workspace, a Black Caribbean woman who is proud of her African ancestry in the workspace, and just different ways that all of that can come together to present itself in the way I carried myself. So, for those of you who are listening and you'd like to learn more about Solita and her company, Style to Impact, visit styletaimpact.com and definitely follow her at Solita C Roberts on Instagram. She seems to be especially active on Pinterest, or used to be very active on Pinterest, and you can follow her there at Style to Impact. So that's StyleToImpact. Are you a consultant or coach who spends too much time trying to find the right tools or the right systems for your business? If you're like I was early in my consulting business, I spent a lot of time researching which project management tool I should use, which CRM system, which website building and hosting company, which accounting software, and what other tools are best for my business. I also spent time creating email templates and even contract templates for clients and vendors. Chances are you've either done the same or you're doing the same. My name is Patrice Davis, and I'm the CEO of a consulting firm, Grantsworth. I'm also the owner of Ready, Set, Go Consult, a consulting business accelerator. I'm also the host of the Age Has No Limit podcast. I'm here to tell you about the Ultimate Consultants and Freelancers Starter Kit. The kit is a curated list of tools of the trade, templates, and other resources you'll need to run your business. It even includes the six-figure proposal template that I've used to win 5- and 6-figure engagements. There's also a fluff-free summary of what it takes to build and grow your consulting or coaching business. Here's the thing. On average, consultants, freelancers, and other independent service providers work up to 65 hours per week. I created the kit myself because I know it can help you save time. Save time from hours of research and trial and error. It's what I would have wanted when I started my consulting business in 2020. Here's another thing. You can't grow a successful consulting business when your foundation isn't stable and when your delivery and systems are chaotic and outdated. Click the link below to learn more about the starter kit, or visit readysetgoconsult.com/starter kit. You'll be happy you did. As a reminder, if you're listening to us on your favorite streaming platform, download this and any of our past episodes so you can listen on the go. If you're watching us on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. Now back to the podcast. Solita, speaking of the pictures and me, following you or being aware of your presence on various, social media places, one of my favorite outfits that I've seen you feature on LinkedIn and found again as I was preparing for this episode was the tan trench coat with the burgundy pants and the rust orange top and the leopard print heels. I was like, when I saw that, I was like, wow, that is a powerful outfit. It stood out for me because I love earth colors, but I love being bold with those colors. And I just hadn't seen that combination. First of all, just the rust orange and the burgundy, awesome. Yeah. But the tan is what makes it all work to me, right? And so those are colors appeal to me. So what do you think, other than your Caribbean background and just your love of color, what else inspires your style choices, especially that outfit?
You have to be, for me, it's not, first of all, forget the rules, okay?
Yeah.
Forget the rules and experiment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Experiment with everything in your closet.
Yeah.
And so for me, when I think about what inspires me, like, there are television shows that I watch. If we go back to Scandal, Scandal, Olivia Pope. Yeah. It's what it is. I always caution persons, like, you can find inspiration. Don't try to copy.
Yeah.
You can see someone and just decide, oh, I love the way, you're looking at the color combination on that particular outfit. It's like, oh, I love the color combination, but you may not wear the same type of pieces.
Yeah. Yeah.
You may make it, your style may be a little bit more funky, but you use the same colors.
Yeah.
So for me, it's like I'm very much so a visual person.
Mm-hmm.
So I take like cues from different things, from television shows, just from art galleries, like paintings, taking it from like magazine covers, how like they're way professional people than I do, like do this type of stylings. Like they've already done some of the work. So why not,
Yeah.
try to look at the way they style certain things and be like, oh, I can do that in an outfit. Because if you can do it in a painting, you can definitely do it in an outfit, right?
Yes,
You can mix it, but it needs to match your personality. And just kind of like breaking down that combination of style choices there. It's the tan work beautiful because it's now pulling from that leopard print.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those two connected, while the burgundy and the orange inner pieces, like those were the core, but the tan and the leopard is what connected and what brought the whole thing together to give you that visual appeal. But just inspiration, just look around you. What are some of the things that as soon as you see it, it pops?
Yeah.
Go into your closet and be like, oh, I love that color, or I loved that texture, right? And see how you can incorporate that into your personal style. So that's basically some of the things that I do. Shows that I watch, books that I've seen, color combination. I mean, like even this car, like looking at the colors, like you can decide it's deciding which one are you gonna make the dominant color. I may decide to style the orange and the red and maybe put a white pump with it, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of looking at color combinations or anything basically that you find inspiration from.
Oh, excellent. So what would you say has been when you think of a client transformation that stands out in your mind? Tell me a little bit about this person, obviously without sharing their name. What was there from and what was there to? Like, what was the transition and what about that transition really stood out for you?
Yes, I remember there are a couple of clients, but I think I'll go back to one because it's mostly women. I find whenever, women in that finance field, we were giving that uniform. We are trying not to, because our male colleagues are wearing the gray, the black, and the white. And so I had this particular client who she wanted to be a financial advisor, working in the space. She was taking the exams, felt as though she had grown kids, but she felt as though, okay, part of what was stopping her from getting to that next level in that space was also the fact that she was hiding herself, right? She felt stuck in herself, wanted to tap a little bit into personal style, but also conflicted with what does that look like for me showing up in this professional space where I want to stand out, but I don't want to be the person that's not wearing the gray, black, and blue uniform. And so I'm like, okay, understand. Because it's a difficult transition sometimes for most women, right? Thinking about, yes, I want to be seen, but I don't want to be seen.
Exactly.
And they think about whenever they wear colors as, ooh, I'm being seen now. Even though they're like, yes, I want to be seen, right?
Yeah.
It's the way of me getting exposure, it's the way of me having a presence in that room and really amplifying the work that I do. And so that's the space that she was in, wavering between how does she want to show up at the same time not being that so expressive. And so we found a balance between, yes, we can keep the color scheme. That's fine. But we will change the way it looks. So typically we wear, and this is going back to the very days of the beginning of Ann Taylor, where you get the black pencil skirt, white button-down shirt, the gray, jacket with absolutely no structure or anything, and everybody looks the same. It's like, okay, we can keep the color scheme, but we're going to elevate the pieces that you add.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of the Ann Taylor pencil skirt,
Mm-hmm.
let's do a inspired look from Ralph Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
So if you think about your Ann Taylor navy blue and white and
Mm-hmm.
a Ralph Lauren navy blue and white look, is completely different.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
same color scheme.
Mm-hmm.
Not saying we purchased Ralph Lauren pieces.
Mm-hmm.
We took the inspiration from that
Mm-hmm.
to make sure the pieces weren't fitting that old stuffy uniform and had
Yeah.
a little bit more personality to it.
Yeah.
And so, we got around to adding the pieces. I told her, you're not just going to look at anything and say, I don't think so. I want you to try it on, because that's very important. There's a difference between looking at something and trying to imagine how it will look on you
Mm-hmm.
and putting it on your body,
Yeah.
feeling it on your body, looking at yourself in the mirror, taking a photo, a full length photo of yourself and just looking at yourself. And we went through that entire exercise.
Mm-hmm.
And I have all the photos, like every single day she got dressed, she was sending me photos. She's like, I didn't think this was possible. I didn't think it was possible for me to, one, feel this way about myself, and two, going into these spaces knowing that I'm myself, but I don't have to fit the old uniform. Having that sense of freedom really felt great to her. And just now we talk about it later on, and she did pass her exams. She is doing well in her space. Just going through that process, like, oh, my family, I got her daughter as a client as well after that. So it was really, that experience for me was good because it allowed me, one, to recognize, again, I'm coming from a different space.
Mm-hmm.
And at no point in time do I tell my clients what to wear.
Mm-hmm.
It's tapping into who they are and then making sure that it's an elevated version of what they think they should be wearing.
Yeah. Yeah. So for those of you, just want to remind you, if you want to learn more about Solita, you can go to styletaimpact.com and follow her at Solita C Roberts on Instagram, and also Style to Impact on Pinterest. And you'll be able to see just, some of the amazing outfits that she features. Again, very colorful, but one of the things that's so interesting, I'm not going to say, but colorful. And what's the word I'm looking for? Because as a person who likes more muted colors with a splash of color, I do that because it's all about my philosophy of balance.
Yeah.
But what I like about her style is that it's colorful, but not imbalanced. It's not off-putting. Not to say that color is off-putting, but just the way she balances it with a beautiful multicolored skirt with a white top. It brings to me that represents balance. So I'm glad that I'm able to take a look at your pictures and be able to help me redefine what balance looks like for me. So just wanted to make sure that everyone knows you can go find out, you can see her style approach by just looking at the beautiful outfits that she features on Instagram and on LinkedIn and other places as well. So I think I mentioned earlier that you influenced a decision of mine to buy a particular book. I think it was January 2022. You said, hey, guys, here's my stack of books that I recommend that you all, give a try. One of them was We Should All Be Millionaires.
Oh.
And I remember you posted it on LinkedIn, and I mentioned in my response to your post that I'd come back in a few months and let you know what I thought about the book. You don't remember that, but
No, I don't actually.
yes. So if you can, so we're not here to push the book. I can tell you more about the book. I ended up actually being a part of Rachel Rogers' community and her mastermind, and I participated in a number of her, I went to her initial conference, her first conference. I think it's the Return on Investment conference in Puerto Rico. So I became a part of that world because of that book you recommended. So So
Wow.
if you can tell me, it goes to show though, like you said, you don't know who you're impacting, right?
Yeah.
When you're on social media. I sometimes get emails from people that say, "Hey, you impacted my decision to do this or the other or some other thing in my profession." But yeah, tell me what made you recommend that book, and explain to the audience why they should read it. Read it.
So, first of all, I'm completely like
Mm-hmm.
speechless on that. The fact
Mm-hmm.
that, I mean, I posted, you took it and
Mm-hmm.
did all these amazing things with Rachel. The first time I encountered Rachel, I was like, wow,
Mm-hmm.
just her boldness and just letting us know, especially as Black women,
Mm-hmm.
you don't have to settle, right? The
Mm-hmm.
things
Mm-hmm.
that we think may be out of reach is not out of reach. It's
No.
just as simple as hire someone to do your laundry so that you
Exactly.
can do something else. It's
Exactly.
okay, right?
Yes.
It's okay. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm very much so honored that you even went to
Mm-hmm.
looked at the recommendation. And so coming out, just kind of giving a backstory in that when I started a what I call a unofficial book club
Mm-hmm.
on LinkedIn through the DM. So we have a book club, a group of us in there together. I was like, who wants to join me in reading books? Let me
Mm-hmm.
know, connect with me. And we started this book club, Impact Book Club, because
Mm-hmm.
style to impact, why not?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it was more, I say to them, it was for a selfish reason because I wanted
Mm-hmm.
to get back into reading
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted a group to keep me accountable for reading. And so
Mm-hmm.
we were reading, every month we read a different book. And, I do the research in terms of what books
Mm-hmm.
we're going to read. I
Mm-hmm.
make sure that it's a woman
Mm-hmm.
or a woman of color, right?
Mm-hmm.
That the books
Mm-hmm.
that we're reading. And I don't know. I don't remember what my inspiration was behind grabbing her book, but I think it was a matter of from some of the women, it's like, okay, we need to make money. I don't want to do this. And I keep hearing, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. And Rachel was doing that promo for her book and she was talking about it. And I saw everybody's talking about it and just the name as well. Like, we should all be millionaires. Of course we
Yeah.
can. And
Yes.
sometimes we think of millionaires as in when I thought about it, it's like we think of millionaires as in sometimes money, just money in the bank. But it's not
Yeah.
just money in the bank that I love about the book. It wasn't just about having $1 million or more in the bank. It was
Mm-hmm.
about all the little things that you can do that we see millionaires do that we're like,
Yeah.
oh, I wish I can do that. Yes, you can hire a babysitter. Yes, you
Yeah.
can go on that vacation. Yes, you can get someone to come and clean your house. Yes, you
Yes.
can get someone to cook for you. If
Mm-hmm.
that means that you can spend more time with your family or do something that you've always wanted to do in your business and your career. Yes, it's okay to do that. And so
Yeah.
for me, it was just that reminder. And where for my business is about women empowerment through style. It's like I am taking a page from her book to
Yeah.
empower my audience to let them know, yes, we can all be millionaires. Here
Mm-hmm.
are some things that you can do. We have an expert that wrote this book. Let's see
Mm-hmm.
what we can take from it
Yeah.
to better our lives.
Yeah. 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 Again, we never know what impact the things that we put out into the world has on the individuals that are reading it. So thank you again, because it sent me down a certain path that I think has really helped my business grow in a more assured way. It's definitely grown in terms of revenue, also the vision. I think when we read certain books, especially when it's written by a person who's done it, and even more so when it's someone who's done it that looks like us,
Yeah.
it helps to solidify your vision. So, when I started my consulting business in January 2020, my first concern was how can I get someone to pay me? But now Patrice, approaching the fifth year in business, is thinking bigger because of books like that and other books that I've read that help you, again, expand your vision. So, again, and it's so a ripple effect of that one post. So what would you say that you enjoy the most about your business? We have a few more questions to go, but would love to learn what you enjoy the most about your business.
I think it's just getting in, and I've always I love hearing getting this question because it's more now we're going to that selfish reason, right?
Mm-hmm.
I get to create changes in women's lives that most of their life they were told is something they shouldn't pay attention to, right? I get to, in a way that something that most persons think is so insignificant, I get to, whether or not that's through speaking or workshops or working with my clients one-on-one, get to shape the way a woman think, get to shape the way a woman feels about herself. And then also coming to that realization that, oh, I wasn't just holding myself back or feeling stuck in my wardrobe, but I'm feeling stuck at work because I'm limiting the way that I'm showing up.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, we take it for granted that they're actually women. And you're like, what do you mean? Someone invites them to an event and they're like, I have nothing to wear, so I'm not going. Or I don't feel confident, so I'm not going to go to that event. And this is not just social events. These are events that are going to impact and change their lives for the better. And so having that's like being able to do that work, knowing that it can cause so many different changes in their lives and put them on a path of doing different things. And of course, having that sense of freedom. I think more than anything in the world is having that sense of freedom, knowing that you can show up in a room and your first priority or thought is, how is this person going to perceive me? And more of, I feel strong and self-assured in myself. So of course I'm going to project confidence. Just being able to do that and inspire a woman, women around the world or in the spaces that I'm in, that for me is everything. All of us have our own paths that we go through and what success looks like. I've never, like in my own experience, like I don't have a master's, a bachelor's, like I don't have those type of degrees. And so you've always been, oh, if you don't have it, you are less than, or some people feel less than. And so for me, it's like, no, we can change and shape the world if doing anything. And it's just a matter of how you're doing it and why you're doing it. And if it's being done from a genuine space.
Yeah.
Where you want to shape the world, because I am shaping the world. Because when women feel confident, they're now going into the workplace, they're now going into their businesses and their everyday life, knowing that they can transform the space and the life that they have. So,
excellent point. I'm glad you made that. That last point is so really sticking with me, in that you are making the connection between the work that you do with them, the confidence that they, I would say, develop or is increased over time, which then impacts the way that they present themselves at work, which could lead to, a promotion. It could lead to other opportunities. It could lead to all of these different things in their lives, which also then has its ripple effect. So I'm glad you, identified that through line between your work and then the impact as a result of, the impact from each person you work with. So what does an age has no limit life mean to you? What does that mean to you?
The good old question where we're like, oh, I'm getting old or I'm too young. For me, I think about life as both an experiment, an experience. And so what that means for me when I think about age and just living life on your terms, like every single day, we are doing some form of experiment every single day. Some of us are a little bolder with the experiments that we're doing. Some of us a little, calculated about what we want to do. But when you think about living life and experiencing life throughout the experiments that you decide to have, it shouldn't come, for me at least, it's not one where, oh, I can only experiment with this climbing a mountain at 25, but now I'm 45, I can't climb a mountain. It's like, no. It's whatever you want to do. What experiences, what experiments do you want to have in your lifetime? It doesn't matter what age you are. And if through circumstances, maybe you can't climb a mountain, but you're passionate about it, can you start an experiment where you're now teaching people that process?
Yeah.
Because now you're getting to experience life in a way that is limitless.
Yeah. Wow.
And so for me, that is what it means. It's being open to experimenting every single day, knowing that regardless of what experiments you're going through, there's going to be a sense of pride and joy that comes from it. Some of them is not going to be good. Some experiences are not good. But at the end of the day, you're not limiting yourself saying, okay, I can only do this.
Yeah.
Or I can't do this because I'm too old, or I can't wear this because it's like, no. Experiment with your life. You only have one. Enjoy it, whatever the experiences are, embrace it. And then, of course, just live the life that you want at the end of the day. And that's where that sense of freedom comes from when you think about life being lived on your terms. Yeah.
Yeah. That's my mantra. Live life on your own terms. So my final question for you, what is one thing that you want to accomplish you haven't accomplished yet?
Oh, so personally, I'm planning it. I need to stop planning and do it. But there is so Barcelona, Italy, and I want to go to Australia. So those are the three places that I've been planning, but I need to rip it out of the book and actually do it. So personally, that's something that I've always wanted to do. Don't ask me. I think I watched something and I was influenced by the culture and just the experience that I saw. And I'm like, okay, those are the three places I want to go. Professionally, when it comes to like my business, I want to be able to expand the reach, being able to go into partner with more corporations and where they're looking at ways in which they can empower the women within the spaces that they're in, and being invited in that space to have these conversations, not just around what to wear, but also how it impacts us as women when we can show up boldly in the spaces that we're in, and what that means for when women are showing up in your companies and in your organizations, and really being bold with their decisions and their creativity, how that really impacts at the end of the day your bottom line as a business. But just being able to get into those spaces and showing women and companies how that packaging does help to expand the brand.
Excellent. That's excellent. So wonderful way to end. Again, she is really good at making the connection between what she does, the way it impacts women, and then, of course, the impact the women then have as a result of their increased confidence, their better sense of style, personal style. And so, Solita, I really, really appreciate the opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, to connect with you face to face, or at least over Zoom, rather than just reading your posts, and then being inspired by either an outfit or a book recommendation. But you are yet, another example that I believe, that I'm trying to do here, which is to, of course, show everyone that age has no limit.
Absolutely not.
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Age Has No Limit podcast. Except for when we take quarterly breaks, we release a new episode each week featuring people who decided to live a no-limit life, or featuring tips or lessons learned from me as I create my own no-limit life. By the way, don't forget to subscribe. I look forward to sharing our next episode with you. Just remember, age has no limit.